And on that note, I'm thrilled to introduce our part two keynote speaker, Priyanka Vergadia, staff developer advocate at Google and board advisor at Women Who Code, with her talk, Nurture Your Personal Brand by Building Influential Technical Content. Welcome, Priyanka.
Hi, Molly. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed that discussion about just all the things that we have learned so far. Cool. Okay, so I am here today to focus a tiny bit on our personal brands. Personal brands are important in a lot of different ways, and that's what I'll touch on today in the next few minutes that we have. And we're going to answer some questions that I have heard a lot from the folks that I have mentored. How do I start? The imposter syndrome. Do I know stuff that is important enough to be written about or talked about? Does it always mean creating content for social media? All of that stuff and a little bit more. So with that, let's get started. Molly did a great job in introducing me. So I won't spend too much time here, but just a little bit about me. I am currently a staff developer advocate at Google. I'm also an advisor here in Women Who Code. I really enjoy building content. The core part of my role, my job, is to utilize cloud technologies to empower customers and users, and with that comes helping build great content, speaking at conferences so developers know how to use some of that stuff, or ask questions, and then take all of that back into the product team. So that's kind of what I do in a day-to-day life. But I do really enjoy building content, learning new things, and then explaining those ideas to others so that they don't have to spend all that time that I have spent in learning those things, and just making other people's lives in tech a little bit easier, or their journeys a little bit easier. So that's kind of what I love doing, and a little bit about my current role. The goal for today's session, I'm thinking we will cover a little bit about my journey, what I've learned over the years in building content, and how powerful it can be to and how many doors it can open for you if you think about that from the career growth perspective. So with that, let's dive in. I'm thinking we will cover or at least touch on some of these topics and give you a quick intro into some of these given the time that we have, and then we can totally take the discussion into questions or other areas. Feel free to reach out on LinkedIn, Twitter, if you want to go deep and have very specific questions that we won't be able to maybe cover today in the time we have. But I'm planning on covering a little bit about what is personal brand, why should you even care about building it, and then how can content creation help you build some of that personal brand. Now, it's not for everybody, but I will still talk about areas in which you can take steps to build your personal brand with content creation. Getting started with content creation, if you've decided you want to do this, how do you get started? I'll give you a few steps, answer a few questions there. How do you grow your brand? Some tips for introverts, because I know this is something which is extremely extrovert focused. So how does an introvert thrive in an environment where you are building a personal brand? It also involves a lot of people and interactions with them. How do you survive that? And then we'll just take some summary and some action items that you can take to start working on these things today. Okay, with that, what is personal brand? Okay, so it can mean different things to different people, and it should, because of the word personal, right? That's exactly what it means. It has to be personal. It has to be yours. When I say personal brand, I don't necessarily mean social media guru, right? I don't mean Instagram famous. I don't mean Twitter famous, right? These are not the definitions of personal brand. Yes, those could be the attributes, but they are not the definition. The definition really is, in your professional life, how do you want yourself to be perceived by whoever you interact with? That's what personal brand means. It could mean internally, where you work at your company, your team. How do they perceive you? How would you like them to perceive you? That's what it boils down to, and that's very personal. The goals that I have are very different than yours when it comes to personal brand, because they also depend on you, your personality, what's important to you. I'll give you an example. Um, I like to learn things and demystify them for other people, and I like to do that with videos, with content. That's sort of like my personal brand. I enjoy learning new things and demystifying them. Somebody else who I might talk to, or you in the audience, you might be thinking your personal brand could be specific to, you know what, I really am very focused on diversity. I really care about this topic. I'm going to stand for that, and you work on that to become your personal brand. So when it's a lot of introspection involved here. When you know what you want to do, what you want your brand to stand for, who you are internally also plays a huge role into that. So sit down with yourself, figure out how you want to be perceived, and then you take steps towards making others perceive you that way, because it's all like introspection and then going from there. Once you have a personal brand, it can be helpful in a lot of different ways. I've put down some of the bullets on the right hand side of the screen there, where you're trusted more. You become a reliable voice. If you are into any of these things, if you want to speak at conferences, if you want to be invited for podcasts, if you focus time on building your personal brand, some of those things become a little bit easier to achieve, because people know you already and they know your work. So they will approach you to talk about that thing you stand for, the brand that you've built. Internal visibility. If you don't care about speaking, if you don't care about going to podcasts or speaking at conferences, the one important thing that all of us can utilize in our everyday job is internal visibility. That brings you a lot of exposure into new projects that you might be interested in or want to be part of. It can open up career opportunities. It can even help you get promoted, because you are making your work visible, and more people would know not just you, not just your work, but also you. And that has immense benefits just in general, even if you don't think about external personal branding. Okay, now that we have that out of the way, you know what personal brand means. How is content creation and personal brand sort of related? And here's how I think about this. Now, content creation um, can can help you reinforce what you stand for to other people. So what you've decided, you are good at X, Y, or Z, or you want your personal brand to be around, let's say, diversity, or your area of expertise in tech. Great. Once you've decided that, content can actually help you showcase that area of expertise. You can also showcase who you are, because there's these two parts of it. It's who you are, your personality. That's why the personal brand word, the phrase in itself is so personal, right? You showcase who you are and what you stand for, and then comes your expertise, which content helps you showcase as well. It helps you explore yourself a little bit more, because, like I said, I've been saying, you are introspecting a lot in order to define who you are, what you want to be, what you want others to think of when they talk about you. And then it helps you make yourself more visible, identifiable online inside your company. And I talked about some benefits in the previous section there. You will also build a lot of confidence, and this definitely happened for me. If you're struggling with, there are more people who know more than me. But once you start moving in this direction of building a little bit of content, you start to build confidence for yourself, and then eventually you start to grow credibility, which leads into all sorts of other things that we've already talked about, like opening up opportunities, career, and all of those things. So that's kind of why I connect the personal branding with a little bit of content creation, because it can really open a lot of doors. Getting started. How do you get started with content creation? Let's say you're extremely inspired by me talking about personal brand and content creation, and you're like, okay, I want to get started. How do give me some steps, right? This is kind of how I think about it. What should you, the questions that I usually get is, where do I start? What do I write, right? What do I write about? What do I blog about? What do I create a video about? And that really boils down to being open to exploring newer fields, and also starting with something that you are passionate about. So, okay, so if you want to do this for because you are getting into content creation not to do it for 2 days, right? You're getting into it to do it a little bit longer term. Um, and in order to do that, you have to start with something that you're really passionate about so that you can sustain that energy, that excitement. So pick a topic, pick an area where you feel you have a certain amount of expertise, you know what to talk about in that topic. Start from there, and then start exploring other areas. If you're really like, I always suggest that you start a little bit broader, and then because then you have the opportunity to go down deep into one area, maybe come back out if you get bored, and then go deep into another area, come back out once you've talked about that or blogged about those areas. So that gives you an opportunity to explore a little bit more breadth. And so, yeah, if that works for you, that is something that definitely works for me. So you could try that out. But I would start with anything you do, just start with something that you're really passionate about. Choose content formats that are more natural to you. So this means that, and you might not know this on day one, and that's totally fine. For this, what I suggest is, I would write one blog, create a video, like do one of each, right? Create a social post, do one of each, and then see which one was really interesting to you, which format you really liked, and then focus in on that format for a little bit longer, and then come back and explore some of the other formats later. Because again, we're trying to be sustainable in this. So if you pick right topics that you're passionate about, pick the format that works for you, then it's more likely that you will continue to do it, and then you can come back out and start trying other things. Why should people read or listen to you? This is a big one that a lot of people who I've mentored ask. And you need to build that credibility for them to trust what you're saying, for them to listen to you or read your blog, and that could automatically be there because you are an expert in the field, let's say, and you started writing blogs, and now people already know you. That part becomes easier. But if you are somebody who is starting from scratch, you have to explore your uniqueness. This is again the introspection piece. What is it that's unique about me? The way you explain things may be unique. The way you approach them may be unique. The way you write about them may be unique. The kind of videos you create may be unique. Your personality is totally different than mine, than somebody else sitting next to you. So really explore that. Explore what is unique in you, and then bring that into anything that you're writing or creating, and that will help eventually. Now, again, don't think like you're going to write first blog, and it's going to get large number of reads and shares. That does not happen. It comes over time. So you have to stick to it for a little bit in order to. It's a long game. It's a long run. So slow and steady, keep doing it for quite some time, and then you start seeing results in a few months. What is unique about you as a person has to be really explored. So I keep saying that, but that in combination with what's your expertise in the tech field, combine those two things together, and there's nobody else like that, because when you include that personality, there's nobody else like you. So when you include make those two things a combination, that becomes a package that nobody else that you can't be compared against. Things to remember: be authentic, be you. Just That's all it is about. And you have to be consistent. Like I said, you have to do it over a period of time, before you can start to see results. So don't panic if you're like, oh, nobody read my blog. It'll happen over time. You don't need to be an expert, honestly. You can start with something where it's like you can always just say, I'm learning this topic, and I'm going to explain it to everybody else once I learn it. Like we did in school, right? That's exactly how we grew up studying and learning. That you can totally apply that into content creation as well. Um, and and intentionality is extremely important. Why are you doing this? Why are you building whatever piece of content you're building? If you're writing a blog, why are you writing it? Who are you writing it for? What are they going to get out of it? And what do you want them to get out of it, right? All of those things are really important, not just for a piece of content, but also for, if you come back out of this whole thing and be like, why do I even want to create content? Like both of those things, like at an individual content level, as well as at a very higher level. Okay, with that, how do you grow your personal brand? It's, like I said, a constant effort. You have to commit to it. You have to. I usually use a calendar. I have a sheet where I write down. I sit down one day, and then I say, these are the 4 blog ideas that I have. Let me jot them down. And here are the 2 videos that I sort of wanted to create for a long time. Let me jot those down. And then I come back to every 2 days or so. I block off an hour and I start writing the things that I planned in the sheet. That gives you a little bit of accountability, and tells and forces you to spend that time, that and it helps you commit, right? And that's just the process that works for me. There might be other ways that work for you. It's just basically making sure that it is a constant effort, and it's going to take time on calendar, and a little bit of commitment. You have to post regularly. You can't just be like, I posted a blog and I'm going to see how it does, and then based on that I'll write another one. No, that's not how this works. You have to continue to continue to have like that pipeline of ideas, and then keep writing it. Just don't even worry about seeing how many people are reading it. And then once you have a few of them, do an analysis. Yes, read through, see what went wrong, what went right, which ones are actually getting a little more views than the other. Now you know, and you're identifying your style, and you can do more of what has worked for you. But you can't do that with like 1 or 2 blogs or 1 or 2 pieces of content. You have to do it over like 10, 15 pieces of content, right? So think about it from a longer game perspective. Don't get discouraged from like 1, 2, 3 blogs. Unless you're just writing blogs for the sake of writing them and not worrying about building or growing your personal brand along with it. That's a totally different conversation to have. Find collaborators. Work with others to grow your audience. So you might have a great blog. You're new. You've been doing things from scratch. Use this community. There are folks who already are doing some of this stuff. Use this community. Reach out to them. Ask them to collaborate with you. That helps you grow in your journey of content creation as well as personal branding a little faster. Don't ignore LinkedIn. This is one of the biggest one. Don't ignore LinkedIn. You are basically building your online portfolio, posting your blogs, your GitHub repos, your projects on there. And by content, I also mean like demos and GitHub repos or portfolios that you're building on there. It's all part of that. Like it's not just blogs and videos. It's also all of those things that help you showcase what you have learned over the years, and what you're offering to the community with your expertise. Don't ignore LinkedIn in the process, but put all of the stuff that you're creating on there so that it becomes your running log of resume, of things that you have spent time on. So when recruiters look at your profile, they know what you are. Try different formats. I've already talked about that. Connect with followers. Don't just post things. Also, like if somebody's asking a question, give them a reply. Learn a little bit more. Be curious about why they asked what they asked. I usually don't get offended if somebody is like telling me stuff in comments that it's like I usually take it with like, oh, maybe I missed something here, right? Especially initially, it can be intimidating to see comments that might be asking you for more information or seem questionable in like, oh, you missed this or you missed that. Great, that's fine. I'm learning. It's okay. I missed it. Own it, say that, and move on and be like, you know what, thank you, I'm going to cover that in the next one. So I know that can be intimidating initially, but just have fun with it. That's what's more important about all of this. If you have fun, none of the other things that come with it matter. Content creation tips. I think I have mostly covered a lot of this in here, but let's see if I've missed something. Don't worry about perfection. Yes, that's important. Just get something out because you need to get your first GitHub project out, your first video out, your first blog out. Do not try to get it perfect. Over time, you're going to learn based on what you have done in the past, and then your content will automatically start to get better as you start to retrospect on what worked, what didn't work. But don't worry about that in the first one. Create a plan, mix it up a little bit, share a bit about you too. So we always, especially in the tech world, we just enjoy talking about tech so much that we forget about bringing a little bit of our personality out. And that's why I put that point up there. People want to know who you are. They really want to connect with you. So for those reasons, I really encourage you to bring in that personality. It's not just about tech, it's about who you are and that combination that we talked about earlier. Cool. With that, tips for introverts. For introverts, networking online is actually much easier than networking in person. And it all you have to do is reach out to a few people, let's say on LinkedIn, and if you reach out to 10, maybe 2 will reply. So it's still easier than going up to somebody and talking about and wanting to talk. So if you're an introvert, I would utilize that. It's very important, and it'll help you make a lot of connections over the last 2 years. I don't even remember the number of people who reached out to me and the number of people I ended up connecting with, right? So you never know. The person on the other end might have the time to connect, and you just missed out because you didn't try to send them a message, right? So do that. We get straight to the point. That actually works in our favor when it comes to content. When if you're an introvert, all you think about is, how do I say this thing, right? And in content, you need to be concise, you need to be short, and it actually works in our favor. So I think introverts make really good content because they know how to keep things short. You will see that if you really follow the right folks in the community, a lot of people around you are introverts. It's really not a thing. So don't even let that become as a barrier in your mind. Reach out to 1 or 2 people for collaboration. That really helps to get you in the mode of accelerate with the help of some of the other folks who already have established themselves in the community. That's very important, and then it also boils down to you networking and connecting with them. So find these people, connect with them. It can help you and learn from them. Great. These are some of the questions that I had collected earlier, but I would love to actually take the questions from the audience.
Hi, Priyanka. Thank you so much for that amazing talk. It was so great. And the first thing that I'll ask is, if people want to connect with you on the internet, how would you best like to be connected with?
There it is, P Vergadia. That's my LinkedIn and my Twitter. So just reach out, ask a question. If there are, obviously, I'll take some time to get back to all that come in, but that's the best way. I check my messages mostly.
All right. Questions. I'm pulling it up. There we go. Has anyone had a starting point of feeling like content creation makes you feel yuck, but then done it and started to enjoy it? I feel like it's very overwhelming just thinking of doing it?
Yeah, that's why it's a great question. That's why I initially, or at some point in my presentation, said, just do it. Just start with that one piece that you always wanted to be like, you know what? I think I should write about this. I have a unique perspective. Just start there. You can't think about like what's going to be next tomorrow, day after, or a year from now. If you think about that, there's so much out there on the internet, so many people building content, that it's you're going to drown just thinking about it. So just do it. Just start with one thing that you find yourself passionate about writing.